What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Land Sports Show. I'm your host, Kevin Slez. With me, we got the same group from last week, Derek, Clarence, and Joey. And guys, we have a coach. Finally.
Derek, tell us all about him.
Yeah.
Kenny Atkinson, former Brooklyn Nets
Kansas
head
point
coach.
guard. Kansas point guard.
So the Cavaliers made it official today. They have hired Kenny Atkinson as the new coach, seating JB Bickerstaff. What are we thinking, guys? I know there was a lot of James Borrego talk. Supposedly he was in the lead as of a week ago. There's conflicting reports today said, after a meeting with Dan Gilbert, Atkinson took the lead. There were some rumors about Tom Izzo having a little influence. That's Dan's buddy. But there was also a report that this was Kobe Altman's choice. So they liked what he can do for the development, especially of a guy like Evan Mobley. If you look at his track record with the Nets, his pace of play was number one in the league. And the last couple years under JB, it was bottom 5 with the Cavaliers. He also likes to play with a lot of spacing, which what we want to hear. He likes his big men to be able to shoot the 3-ball. So they're hoping he can help Evan Mobley in that respect. I don't know what that means for Jared Allen. I know he played for him before. He and Karis LeVert both gave him a big thumbs up. Supposedly, Mitchell put his stamp on this. Mitchell was in Paris, and so was Atkinson, and he allegedly met with a coaching candidate. So I think we can put 2 and 2 together at that point. But what are the overall thoughts on Kenny Atkinson? We'll start with you, Clarence.
I'm good with it. As soon as he was one of the names mentioned, again, the first thing I just always thought of was that year that they cost us a high pick because they played so well. So I'm like, as I said before, if he can get that kind of squad to play well together, then give him a superstar and a young budding star and let him go to work. I'm okay with it. I was kind of partial. I was hoping that Sam Cassell would come out of nowhere, but I haven't heard his name mentioned since the very beginning, so I don't think he was ever a candidate. But I thought because they waited so long, I was like, well, maybe they're. But I'm good with Atkinson. Now just do something on the court. They got to switch up the team a little bit.
Joey, how you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm good with it too. When we talked about it last week, when I had a little family party going on, wasn't maybe it was a little tipsy. Sorry, a little unprofessional. But I said that I liked Atkinson. Hopefully all these stamps of approvals are actually true, and it'll lead to a Donovan Mitchell extension, because I think that's really one of the most important things. And hopefully Garland wants to stay. Totally fine with running it back again. But I like Atkinson, like Clarence said. He got everyone gave him high praise. He met with people, and I heard earlier on another show that this wasn't something that Mitchell heard from. It wasn't something he heard on social media. This was something that was approved. He wasn't part of the process, so it's not something you want to hear. But he definitely knew about it. He talked to Atkinson before the hire was made, at least. So, with all that being said, hopefully that means a Mitchell extension, and if that's the case, then we'll see what happens.
All right, Derek, how you feeling about Kenny Atkinson?
Yes. kind of echoing what Clarence and Joey said. A lot of it depends on what the roster looks like here in a month or two. I think he said Windhurst said that don't look too far into Jared Allen having a history with Atkinson as a sign that he's definitely back in Cleveland next year. So, you know, as you mentioned, pace, Jared Allen, George Niang, not fleet of foot getting up and down the court. So, you know,
We lost Derek's audio.
what about now?
There you go.
Better.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties here, but yeah, let's see what the roster looks like. Allen, Niang, maybe not the most fleet of foot to play in that pace and space, or space and pace, or whatever you want to call Atkinson style. But yeah, it'll be interesting. You know, was he the first choice? Was he the second choice? It doesn't matter in the end of the day. And maybe it was Dan's choice, maybe it was Kobe's, but Dan signs Kobe's paycheck, so as long as Kobe wants to keep receiving those paychecks, you kind of sometimes have to bow down to your boss. So, but we got the coach, the drafts Wednesday, pick 20. We'll see where we're at here in the next week or so. Free agency's going to get going. We'll talk more about that next week. But yeah, got the head coach in place, so all good on that end.
Yeah, it sounds like Mitchell's on the cusp of signing a 4-year, $209 million extension, with the fourth year being a player option, which not unexpected. He'll have a shot at another big payday once that contract's up. So it's all good news so far. And like you said, we got the draft Wednesday night. Got the 20th pick. Not the most exciting, but they'll add hopefully another rotation player at that point. All right, so let's get into our
package it.
What's that?
Or package it with one of them two guys to get somebody else in here.
Right.
It's a possibility.
The Cleveland Guardians continue to be red hot, just coming off a 3-game sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays. Currently, big series with the Orioles in Baltimore. Currently leading 3-2 in the top of the 7th after a Jose Ramirez solo home run. So Tanner Bybee looks like he settled down a bit. Got off to a rough start there, but there's some pretty good storylines. One of them is Stephen Kwan, who's flirting with 400, something no player has done in a very long time. He's currently sitting at 389. Obviously, that's a tough feat, but he's getting close to qualifying for the American League batting lead, which he will have by far once he does. And this is a guy that's going to be up for an extension here shortly that they're going to have to wrap up. And the way he's playing, I mean, it's going to cost some money. And we know with our ownership that tends to be a problem. So what are your guys' thoughts on Mr. Kwan? Joey, you can go ahead and start it off.
I want to, before today, I was just, this is before today. Jose, 19 home runs, 67 RBIs, hitting 273 on the season. He's also got 67 runs. One of the best players in baseball. And if he doesn't get a statue, I will petition and potentially riot if I need to, because more than anyone, I think that's who deserves a statue in Cleveland. Someone who wanted to be here and has consistently been a top player. Then he's the captain, and he's the captain of the team. That's there's no questions about it. But Stephen Kwan is a player that you look at, the leadoff hitter, and he's even when he's been in slumps, he still it always seems like he's a guy who's gonna get on base, or a guy who does get on base. And this season, even with the month he was out with an injury, He's hitting 390. He's got 7 home runs. He's got 23 RBIs. He's got 46 runs, which is second or third on the team, behind Jose and Josh Naylor. And you're talking about those guys who have, 19 and 20, or now 20 and 20 home runs, each having 20. That's, and on top of that, he's a hell of a fielder. I mean, for someone like that, and if he could, even if he ends the season hitting 355, that's a guy that you're going to need. I mean, he's on pace right now for over 20 home runs, for 75 RBIs, 100 and close to 150 runs. That's the type of person you want leading off every single night that you play the game. So I'm hoping that ownership recognizes that this is as much of a baseball town as it ever was. And especially with the fans showing up every single night, it seems like every night we're hearing about sellouts or almost sellouts. We are proud of the Guardians. We love the Guardians. And I don't want this to get to a point where this is almost less about Kwan and more about you find these players who are cornerstone pieces of your team who you can build around to be a championship contender. You need to pay them. And when the fans show up, when we are spending our hard-earned money to go to the games, to buy jerseys, to buy hats, there's so much Guardians apparel in my household. I want to see that reinvested in the team, not lining the owner's pocket. Now, I understand the owner's got to make money, but we're also, we're making the team more valuable too, because we're investing in the team too. And you got to keep those players. And another player that we should talk about too is Naylor, because at some point Naylor's going to need to get paid. And the way he's playing this year, right now, again, 20 homers, 58 RBIs, 50 RBIs and 58 runs, hitting just shy of 250. I mean, those are guys you build around. If he hits 40 homers, you don't let a 40 home run guy go. You don't let a 350 hitter go. You got to find out. You got to suck it up and find a way to pay some of these guys.
I mean, the power. That's one thing that this team has lacked the last couple of years. And coming into tonight, they've hit 12 home runs in the last 5 games, which is pretty incredible for them. Derek, what are your thoughts?
A lot of what Joey said. He's an old school player, and I think that's why a lot of traditional baseball fans love him. In an era where everyone's trying just to hit home runs or throw 100 miles per hour, he's out there, smacking doubles, just trying to get on base, playing solid left field, and doing it quietly. I didn't get to read the whole article, but caught bits and pieces of Zach Meisel posted a nice piece on Kwan and how, growing up he'd play pinball for hours at, I think it was his grandma's or an aunt's house, and that taught him hand-eye coordination and how he's able to get turned on some of these inside pitches that may be a little off the plate, but, he credits it to having shorter arms than some guys, so he can get his wrist through the ball, and he's hitting them, down the line, and had that home run that hit off the foul pole, and he's had doubles, and he's doing everything that you want. And as we talk extension, I know we all think Jose may have been the last guy to ever give a hometown discount or what have you, but Juan kind of strikes me as a guy that isn't going to hold out for an extra 10 or 15 million. And, I don't know him personally, obviously, but just everything that you read about him, hear about him, what you see on TV, how he carries himself, I think if they approach him with a respectable offer, I think that it's it's something that will get done. And with Naylor, he had that injury, but he's definitely bounced back. Just as good, if not better, than he was prior to the injury. But yeah, it kind of goes back to this kind of log jam that we had in the middle infield, and now we're kind of getting it in some of the corner spots too. Noel, Manzardo. If you re-up Naylor, do you move one of those for a different position? But that's a discussion for a different night. But yeah, just loving watching the Guardians. Baseball is one of those sports that a lot of times it's hard to sit there and watch 150, 160 games on TV or what have you. But when they're as hot as they are right now, and you you feel the energy, whether it's Tom Hamilton calling it on the radio or what you're seeing on TV and what Underwood and Rick Manning are saying as they're calling the game. Even if you're not at the corner of Carnegie in Ontario, you still feel this excitement for Guardians baseball, and it's been a while. Honestly, we've had some playoff contending teams, but there's something about this year, this youthfulness meeting, production that's they're what 20 some odd games over 500 and playing
20,
great
23,
ball.
I think.
23. Okay, I knew it was somewhere in
I,
the 20s,
I
but
think I'm about 100%.
yeah, but I was talking to someone today that have only lost like 9 games at home, and the next best team for home record has lost like 15 or so. So that's 2 full series of wins that other teams don't have, and that ties into, like Joey was saying, fans are going out and packing the stadium. Even if it's not a complete sellout, there's people sitting upstairs, and for so many years, how many times did they not even open up the 400 and 500 sections because they couldn't even sell out the bleachers. So it's great to see on all angles, and you do hope that ownership takes note of that and like Joey was saying, repurpose that money back into the team, re-up some of these guys, so it can be like the '90s where you had Tomey, Lofton, Vizquel, Baerga, guys that you grew up knowing, that our kids are, you know, growing up and knowing, so they can have their favorite player play for their team more than just the 5 years of team control or what have you. Um, yeah, just keep going and yep.
Clarence, I know you said you don't usually pay too much attention until late in the season, and they caught your attention a little earlier maybe than normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Only because one of the main things is that even historically, we know they don't spend money. They just don't do it. But the Guardians are always kind of like, they're always teetering around. They're overachieving a little bit, but they're kind of teetering around, just teasing you like, oh, they might be all right. It seems like this year they came out the gate just blowing up. So just that simple reason, it doesn't look like it's something that's going to be a fall off. So I think just for kind of that reason alone, it's still kind of that young farm system type team, but there is an excitement there. Like this is something that could be like, I don't ever want to become the farm system to the major leagues like we were, in the '90s where we were like too deep at every position and we couldn't hold everybody. I don't want to get back to that range, but it seems like they've put together a nice little young squad. I think they're the third smallest payroll in all of Major League Baseball, and they're 20 plus games over 500. Like they've definitely caught my attention a little bit more. Absolutely.
And that's the thing, there was a point in time where I kept saying, just thinking to myself, all right, I'm just, waiting for them to fall off, waiting for them to come down to reality. Them and the Royals were hot at the same time. And the Royals are the ones that have kind of come down to reality and fallen on their face now 9 games back. And that's the most impressive thing about the Guardians is they're avoiding those 4, 5, 6 game losing streaks.
Yep.
They lose maybe 1 or 2 in a row and, they're back at it. And it's just amazing. And with all the injuries to the pitching staff, with losing Bieber for the season, now Tristan McKenzie hasn't been right all year. Logan Allen has been, not what he was last year. I mean, he has 8 wins, but his ERA is over 5. He's probably gotten the most run support of just about any pitcher in the American League. So, and they're doing it with guys like Ben Lively, who expected Ben Lively to contribute when we signed him, because I sure didn't. And here he is, 6-3, and pitching very well. And he's been one of the top pitchers for the team. And, Tanner Bybee's turned it around now. He's pitching well again tonight. So, it's been a collective effort. And, like you said, hopefully Dolan, Antonetti Chernoff, they're going to see this. And with the bump in attendance, that's bringing in extra revenue, they're going to go out. And they have proven in the past when the Guardians have been in this position, they've gone out and they've gotten players. Just like, 2016 was the prime example. Go out and get Andrew Miller. And we know how dominant he was out of that bullpen. He was untouchable in the playoffs and the World Series. So, it gives me hope that they're going to do it again. And, they see the excitement around the team. And, not only is it a letdown for the fans when you don't do anything when you're in this position, but what does that tell the locker room as well? When they see all these other contending teams going on making additions to make that push, and your guys don't do it. So I think it's just as big for the locker room as it is for the fan base.
Am I the only one that only heard like a fourth of that?
I heard it all.
You heard it all. Okay, good. Must be my cell phone connection.
Are you drinking again?
Yeah.
I could only hear. Yeah, I must be on that Dean Samples connection then. It sounded like a robot for like 3/4 of that. I was like, oh God, I hope that's not in the show.
Don't get that Dean net.
Yeah, the Dean internet is, man. Some days it's amazing, and other days you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do the damn show by myself.
Some good news on the injury front. Gavin Williams made his 4th rehab start this past Saturday in Akron. We had our own James Ellifritz and Tavin McCauley. They're covering it. Got to interview him after the game and talk to him a bit. And he's set to make, hopefully, his final rehab start this Wednesday in Columbus. He looked really good Saturday in Akron. Hopefully he comes out, gets another good outing and is able to rejoin Cleveland at some point next week. So some good news there. Clarence is sideways.
You didn't know Clarence is Spider-Man? That's crazy.
Right
I was the only one. I think, and I'm not trying to be mean when I say this, because I love him as a player and I think he's an amazing human being. But I think Carlos Carrasco, I think that when Gavin comes back, it's time. I mean, and we've won games with Cookie starting, but it's we got to put up 8 or 9 runs, and we do. It seems like every start he has is the start. His stat line is 5 or 6 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned, 5 strikeouts, 5 walks, and then somehow we win the game 9-6, and you're like, oh, okay, we won. So
he was really good in his last start. Of course, that's when you think, okay, this might be his last start. Then he comes out and looks as good as he has all year, and it makes you think, okay,
right.
Maybe he's still got something. But maybe a bullpen role, long relief, maybe something along those lines could be in his future once Mr. Williams gets back.
I do think that we need to give a shout out though to David Fry, even though he's fell into a little bit of a slump. Still 8 home runs, 31 RBIs, 28 runs. And he's still hitting .310. I mean, he's been a guy that you can rely on this season. Like I said, he's been going through a little bit of a slump recently, but for 45 games, he's been someone that you were like, oh my gosh. And I think that once he gets out of the slump, he's going to be that guy again that you can rely on. And it's always nice when you're able to find that fourth or fifth guy in the lineup that when he comes up, you're like, okay, this, guy on second or guy on third, and you're like, okay, this is going to be an RBI, So, still got to give a shout out to David Fry. I don't want to say he's overachieving because he's a heck of a player and someone who can play every single position, which is really nice to have on the team.
Yeah.
But I still like seeing these younger guys come up. I want to see what they can do. Guys like Jonathan Rodriguez, Angel Martinez just got called up. We should be seeing John Kenzie Noel. And Noel is that guy. Noel is a guy, and I think I told the story before, but when I was covering him when he was at Lake County, he has the sound when he hits a home run. You can hear it, and you'll be able to hear it through the TV. You'll hear the crack of that bat, and you'll go, "That's out of here." And hopefully, with as well as he's played in his career through the minors, that's going to translate to the major leagues because, man, he has all the potential in the world.
Well, it seems like the light may have finally clicked on for him because he's doing something he's never done before. He's got his average up over 300. He's not just hitting home runs. I mean, he's hitting a lot of home runs, but he's doing everything else, and he's cutting down on his strikeouts. So maybe that light's finally clicked, and he's only 22 years old, and he's moved up pretty fast through the system.
Exactly.
But yeah, his potential is off the charts. And don't forget about the left-handed David Fry, Daniel Schneemann.
Yeah.
He's still hitting over 300. He's got another hit tonight, so he's another one of those late bloomers. Maybe like the way he plays though, and he can play all over the place. So another guy, valuable guy to have for sure. All right, so we wanted to wrap up the show with a little bit of fun, to kind of talk about some of our favorite Cleveland sports memories of our lifetimes. I'm sure the big one for everybody is going to be the 2016 Cavs championship. If it's not, then I don't know what the hell's wrong with you, because that's probably my number one Cleveland sports moment. I'm sure it probably is for you guys too. Maybe.
Definitely up there.
Bottlegate.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Bottlegate. Sorry.
Bottlegate.
Bottlegate against the Jags. But you started that, Clarence, right? They're still looking for you. Isn't that what happened?
He had hair back then.
He's in disguise.
It's got to be 2016. There's no other. I mean, there were some. I think we all have good memories. From different Cleveland Indians teams in the 90s, and some of the great moments LeBron produced before the championship year. From 2003 to 2010. And then even going back further, you can talk about, Clay Matthews and the interception against the Jets, everything prior to playing Denver in 86, 87, and then 89. Those were all good times. But it's 2016. There's nothing like it out there. And I don't care what nobody has to say. Yeah, it's one ring, but that's worth 10 rings compared to a lot of these championships I've seen won, and I'll die on that hill.
I think that what made it even more special was that we were down 3-1, and that no team ever came back from 3-1. So, we won Game 5, we won Game 6, and I felt like going into Game 7, you almost were as relaxed as you could be as a Cavs fan, because you just thought to yourself, they put themselves in an opportunity to win it. And when Kyrie hit that shot, LeBron hit that free throw, I mean, every last second thing was amazing. The block from LeBron, the shot from Kyrie, LeBron going down, and everyone's like, "Oh no, LeBron broke his wrist or something," and then he makes a free throw, and then they Shump fouls Klay Thompson with 4 seconds left or 3 seconds left because they had one to give. They missed a three, and it was just there will be nothing like until it happens again. There will be nothing like that feeling of your team, the team that you root for, and we cover these teams, and they are, you know, you especially as journalists, you're taught to never say your, or, or we, because we are not part of the team, but you're brought up rooting for the name on the front, maybe not the player on the back. And we'll love LeBron and Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving forever because of that team, and Shump and J.R. Smith and even Timothy Mozgov.
Sasha Khan.
Yeah, you're
Sasha Khan, one and done.
yeah. I mean, you're gonna love those players forever, but it's the front of the jersey that makes it special. It's where you're from. It's who you root for. It's what you were raised on from most of the time. And to see your team be the champions there was nothing like it. I went to the parade. I don't know if you guys went to the parade. The sun beating down on you. And me like a dumbass, I wore a the champion's cap backwards, and I had a big, huge sunburn like right here in a semicircle. But it was all worth it because it was just the most amazing feeling. But like Clarence said, there's also then you have your that's going to be number one for pretty much anyone. But then you have your personal favorites, like the first Browns game me and my wife went to, and it was a shootout between the Browns and the Bengals, and it was like 56-49, or I can't remember what the score was. But the Browns ended up winning, and it was just a crazy game. And those like Clarence said, those mid '90s Indians, going to the games with my dad, and the first Guardians game I took my daughter to, or even the first Captains game I took my daughter to. There's sports is such a special thing because it brings you together as fans, but it also brings you together as family and as friends. And whether you're rooting for the same team or you're rooting for different teams, it's always an event, and there's nothing like it in the world. And I think that's a big reason why all of us do what we do.
Derek, go ahead.
Has anybody been to a bad one? Derek, you've been to it. Has anybody? I know we're talking about good ones, but like as a Cleveland sports fan, like I've like avoided like all the 99% of these tragedies that people talk about, but I caught two in the last 2 years. And what a sky! I'll test those later. But Dee, have you ever been to a bad one?
Yeah, I was at the blocked field goal that was returned for a touchdown against the Ravens
Baltimore?
on Monday
Oh
night.
yeah, I was there. I was there.
Yep, I was
I try to
there at
forget
that
about
one.
that.
Yeah,
I wasn't even
yep,
talking
me too,
about that one. I was talking about two, and I wasn't even talking about that one.
Yeah, most of them are probably Browns games, but one for a favorite memory of mine, my dad and I were at the Snow Bowl against Buffalo. Just remember walking into the stadium, and my dad's beard actually had icicles on it before we even got into the stadium because it was so cold and snowy. And it's one of those, yeah, the Browns won, so that's great, but it's still talked about. People ask Joe Thomas about games he played in, and he points to that one as probably his favorite out of all the ones that he played in as a Brown. That's the one that sticks out to him. So that's a good memory. Been to some Cleveland Indians walk offs. Those are always great memories. But yeah, like Joey said, and you know, the games that you go to with your family, with your kids, your parents, those are the ones that definitely hold a special meaning, win, lose, or draw, because you know, uh, I I I don't want to speak for everyone, but I will. We're Cleveland fans, because we live here, born here, raised here, but someone in our family, whether it was a parent, an aunt or uncle, grandma or grandpa, you know, they turned on the radio, they turned on the TV, and you listened to an Indians game or watched a Browns game or something like that, and it hooked up all of us, and it hooked the 46 people that are currently watching us live right now, you know, because like Joey said, yeah, we have our favorite players that have their names on the back, but it's the Cleveland across the front of the chest that we all love. And, that's something that, fantasy football's kind of maybe changed that a little bit with the younger generation. They don't have that love for the teams as much as the players, but, you know, these memories that we have, obviously, like we've all said, 2016 championship, my dad and brother and I, we went to the Indians game earlier in that afternoon that day, and Jose Ramirez hit a walk off. I'll always remember that because, 6 hours later, the Cavs win their championship. But, so that's another good memory from an Indians game. But yeah, and like Joey said, there's something about sports, the event of it, after a Browns touchdown, you're turning around, you're high-fiving people that you don't know. And in the world today, that's kind of wild to think about. You don't go to a sports game and, ask everyone around you, oh, who did you vote for in 2020? And, all you care about is they're a Cleveland fan, I'm a Cleveland fan. We have that brotherhood, we have that, family feel, and it can't be repeated. It can't be whatever, but that's a great memory of sports is just the connectivity that you get with the fellow fans around you. So
Yeah, I think
I brought Joey to tears. He left.
I think his phone was close to dying. But 2016 obviously is my tops. That fourth quarter. Remember that there was that period where nobody was scoring. It was tied, and it was just it was nerve wracking. And then
89 to 89 forever.
Then they finally put it away, and they win the championship, and I'm just sitting on the couch like, okay, what do I do now? Like, this has never happened before. It was more
Right.
I was more in shock than anything else. I didn't know what to do. How do you celebrate? I've never won a championship before. So,
Yeah, I remember standing there just staring at the TV like, did it really happen? Or like,
I stayed up and watched all the post game stuff, and it was just surreal. But
I owned a bar at
streetlights.
that point.
Oh, did you?
I owned a bar downtown, and it emptied out. Place was empty, and I like everybody went crazy first, but then everybody emptied out in the street, and I was like, man, I got like 107 credit cards here that I got to close out. Like, I hope they come back. Of course they did, but it was nuts. I've got some grain. Now it's grainy video. That's how old it is. That's how long it seems like it was. But I've got some video of the streets that night that just, it's still crazy. It still blows my mind. The only thing that's come pretty much since then, I think the coolest thing that I know that I've been around was the fourth quarter of the Browns Jets game this year when they clinched the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, that was just like, that atmosphere was just a big ass party in there, but everybody was mellow, but just clinching a playoff, berth at home. Like I said, I don't remember maybe the last time that happened when we had fans. So it was a really chill, mellow atmosphere. And happiness.
Quite a few, definitely happiness. Some Indians memories. 1987 was when I went to my first game with my dad and my late uncle, and my uncle actually knew Toby Hara through my his son. My cousin had died of leukemia, and he went through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and my uncle got to know Toby Hara through there, and we got there early for batting practice. Went down to the field, and he had Toby Hara come over and sign a ball for me and personalize it. So 12-year-old kid, that was amazing to me. So I've always remember that with my dad, my uncle. Of course, the 1995 team where they just bludgeoned everybody. All those come from behind wins, winning 100 games in a strike shortened season, 144 games. I won 100 games. Unfortunately, a damn Braves pitching took down that big offense. That was disappointing. But 97, sitting there watching Game 7 over my dad's friend's garage, a bunch of people out in the garage watching the game, final out, and you could hear a pin drop. Everybody just literally just got up and left, like complete silence after that disappointing loss. In 2001, I don't know if you guys remember the big 12-run comeback against the Mariners late.
Yeah, Sunday night.
Yeah.
I had tickets to that game, and I gave them away because I had to work the next morning. Gave them to my cousin and my uncle, so I would have been there, and they stayed. My uncle wanted to leave, and my cousin's like, "No, we got to stay." And they stayed for the whole thing, so I missed that. I gave the tickets away, so my cousin and my uncle got to enjoy that. You're welcome.
So to piggyback off of that, Kevin, my dad was working third shift at the time, and typically he'd listen to the end of the games, but they were down so much he just turned it off and got to work. And the first shift came in the next morning like, holy shit, the Indians came back and beat them, and he thought they were just full of it, and until he got home, turned on ESPN, and it was it Holbert Cabrera that hit the game winning?
Yeah, Holbert Cabrera.
Yeah.
I have no doubt I would have
He's
left.
one of my guys on Immaculate Grid. I love pulling out Holbert Cabrera.
Yeah, I have no doubt I would have left too, especially if I had to work the next morning. I wouldn't have stayed.
Definitely.
So I would have been kicking myself the next day for sure.
Definitely.
All right, I think that about wraps it up for this week. We lost Joey, but we'll be back again next Monday. Hopefully, we got the coaching news this week. Hopefully, we get a Spida extension and possibly an Evan Mobley extension. I know he's coming up this summer for an extension as well. And then we'll have our draft pick, and we'll be into free agency and trade season. So hopefully, we'll have some juicy rumors or some free agent rumors. Something. Player personnel wise for the Cavs next week. So for Derek and Clarence, I'm Kevin, and we will see you again next Monday.